My 5-year-old son looked up at his father, at his aunt, at the suitcases still parked in our hallway after 40 days, and he said one sentence. Just one. 7 words that detonated like a grenade in the middle of our living room. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how a woman who worked 2 jobs, saved every penny, and built a life from nothing ended up standing in her own kitchen at 11 o'clock at night, doing the math on a napkin, realizing she'd spent over $3,200 feeding and housing her sister-in-law and nephew, while her husband sat on the couch telling her she needed to be more generous with family. $3,200 in 40 days, and not a single cent coming back. My name is Ashley, and this is the story of how my sister-in-law nearly destroyed my marriage, my finances, and my sanity, and how a kindergartner with no filter saved everything. Let me take you back to the beginning, the real beginning. Michael and I met in 2017 at a Home Depot, of all places. I was trying to figure out which primer to buy for a bookshelf I was refinishing, and he was there buying PVC pipe for some plumbing project at his rental property. He saw me standing in the paint aisle, looking lost, and said, "If you're going with chalk paint, you don't even need primer." I looked at him and said, "I'm not going with chalk paint." He laughed. I laughed. 20 minutes later, we were in the parking lot exchanging numbers, and I remember thinking, this man has kind eyes. He did. He does. That's part of what makes this whole thing so complicated. We dated for 2 years, got married in the spring of 2019, small ceremony, backyard of his parents' house in Maple Grove, Minnesota. His mom, Linda, made pulled pork. My best friend, Courtney, did the flowers. It rained for about 10 minutes during the vows, and then the sun came out, and everyone said it was good luck. For a while, it was. Michael worked as a facilities manager for a mid-sized company downtown. Steady paycheck, good benefits, 401k match. I was a dental hygienist 4 days a week and did bookkeeping on the side for a few small businesses. Between the two of us, we were bringing in about $110,000 a year. Not rich, not struggling, comfortable. We bought our house in 2020, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch in Blaine, just north of the Twin Cities. 15 minutes from Michael's parents, 20 from my mom. Good school district, the kind of neighborhood where people wave when they drive past, and somebody always has a garage sale going on Saturday mornings. We got it for $285,000, which felt like a steal even then. Fixed rate, 3.2%. I remember the day we signed at the title company. My hand was shaking. I looked at Michael and whispered, "We actually own a house." He squeezed my hand and said, "We earned this." Our son Brandon came along in 2021. He was born 3 weeks early, 5 pounds, 11 ounces, screaming his head off. From day one, that kid had opinions. By the time he turned 2, he was stringing full sentences together. By 3, he was asking questions that made adults uncomfortable. Why does Grandma Linda always smell like wine? That was a fun Thanksgiving. Life was good. Not perfect, because nothing ever is, but good. I had a system. Every Sunday night, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and our joint checking account open, and I planned the week's meals, scheduled the bills, moved money into savings. Michael called it Ashley's War Room. He'd bring me coffee and kiss the top of my head and let me do my thing. We had an emergency fund with 8 months of expenses saved. We had no credit card debt. Our credit scores were both above 760. I was proud of that life. I built it brick by brick. Now, here's where I need to tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer is Michael's younger sister. She's 31, 2 years younger than him. And look, I want to be fair here. Jennifer isn't a monster. She's not evil. But she is the kind of person who has never once in her adult life had a plan that lasted longer than 90 days. She dropped out of community college twice. She's had, by my count, at least 14 jobs since I've known her. She was a barista, a dog groomer, a receptionist at a chiropractor's office, a social media manager for a friend's candle business that folded in 3 months. Every time something fell apart, there was always a reason, and the reason was never Jennifer. Her son Tyler is 7. Sweet kid, quiet, big brown eyes. His dad, Jennifer's ex, a guy named Derek, moved to Texas when Tyler was 2 and sends child support about every other month when he feels like it. Jennifer has full custody. Tyler is basically being raised by Jennifer and whatever boyfriend she has at the time, and increasingly by Michael's parents. Michael adores Jennifer. That's the thing you have to understand. He's her big brother. When they were kids, their dad walked out, and Michael, at 11 years old, decided he was the man of the house. He packed Jennifer's lunches. He walked her to school. He helped her with homework. Linda worked double shifts at a nursing home, so Michael basically raised his sister from middle school on. That bond, it's iron, it's blood. And I respected it, I really did. For years, Jennifer's chaos stayed at a manageable distance. She'd call Michael crying about a breakup, and he'd talk her through it. She'd need $200 for a car repair, and he'd Venmo it without blinking. She'd show up at Thanksgiving with a new boyfriend and leave early because they got in a fight in the driveway. Standard stuff, annoying, but manageable. Then, in early March of this year, everything changed. Jennifer got evicted. Not for the first time, honestly, but this one was bad. She'd been renting a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn Park for $1,100 a month. She fell behind 2 months, then 3. The landlord filed, the court gave her 30 days, and Jennifer, being Jennifer, waited until day 29 to tell anyone. Michael's phone rang on a Tuesday night. I was giving Brandon a bath. I could hear Michael in the kitchen, and his voice went from normal to tight, to that specific low tone he uses when he's trying to stay calm, but his jaw is clenched. He came into the bathroom, leaned against the doorframe, and said, "Jen's getting evicted. She has to be out by Friday." I looked up from Brandon's rubber ducks. Friday, as in 3 days from now? Yeah. Where is she going to go? He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me. And I knew. I knew right then what he was about to ask, and I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet little alarm bell ringing somewhere deep in my gut. She could stay here, he said, just for a couple weeks, until she finds a new place. I dried my hands on the towel slowly. Brandon was singing to himself, splashing water, oblivious. "Michael," I said carefully, "our guest room is barely a guest room. It's my office. My bookkeeping desk is in there, all my client files. We can move the desk into the basement for a bit. It's temporary." "How temporary?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. She just needs to get on her feet. I wanted to say no. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to say no. But I looked at my husband's face, and I saw that 11-year-old boy who packed his little sister's lunch every morning. I saw how much it cost him to even ask me this. 2 weeks, I said. "And she helps with groceries." He nodded fast. "Absolutely, I'll tell her. And she keeps the room clean, and Tyler follows our house rules, and, babe, I know, I'll handle it." He kissed my forehead and walked out, already dialing Jennifer's number. I sat on the edge of the bathtub and watched Brandon stack foam letters on the tile wall. He'd spelled out dog and mom and was working on something else. "What are you spelling, buddy?" I asked. "Help," he said cheerfully. I laughed. But honestly, that word sat in my stomach like a stone. Friday came. Jennifer arrived with Tyler, 4 suitcases, 3 garbage bags full of clothes, a box of Tyler's toys, and a 12-pack of Diet Coke. She hugged me at the front door and said, "Ashley, you're literally saving my life. I swear, 2 weeks tops." I smiled. I helped carry the bags inside. I'd already moved my desk and files to the basement, reorganized the guest room with fresh sheets and a little nightstand lamp. I'd even put a coloring book and crayons on the bed for Tyler. Jennifer looked around the room and said, "Oh my God, this is nicer than my apartment was." She laughed when she said it. I didn't. That night, Michael grilled burgers. Tyler and Brandon played in the backyard. Jennifer sat on the patio with a glass of wine, our wine, and told us the whole eviction story. The landlord was unreasonable. The court was unfair. Derek hadn't sent child support in 4 months. Her last job, something at a nail salon, had let her go because the owner's niece needed the position. I listened. I nodded. I sipped my water. And that little alarm bell in my gut? It wasn't little anymore. It was ringing steady, like a smoke detector with a dying battery, quiet enough to ignore if you tried, but persistent enough that you absolutely knew, something was about to burn. The first week wasn't terrible. I'll give Jennifer that much. She kept the guest room reasonably tidy. Tyler was polite, said please and thank you, cleaned his plate after meals, played quietly with Brandon in the backyard. Jennifer even cooked dinner twice, once a decent chicken stir-fry, once a pasta thing that was mostly butter and garlic, but fine. She told me she'd already applied to 3 places for work. She showed me apartment listings on her phone, a 1-bedroom in Columbia Heights for $950, a 2-bedroom in Fridley for $1,100. I just need 1 paycheck to cover a deposit, she said. 2 weeks, Ash, I promise. I nodded. I wanted to believe her. I really, genuinely did. The second week, the cracks started showing. Jennifer stopped cooking. She stopped mentioning job applications. The apartment listings disappeared from conversation. Instead, she started sleeping until 11, sometimes noon. I'd come home from the dental office at 4:30 and find her on the couch watching reality TV, a blanket over her legs, a half-eaten bag of Doritos on the coffee table. My Doritos, from the snack shelf I stocked for Brandon's lunches. Tyler, meanwhile, had started acting out. Nothing terrible, but enough. He told Brandon that Brandon's room was too small. He left wet towels on the bathroom floor. He broke a ceramic picture frame in the hallway, one that held Brandon's newborn photo. And Jennifer's response was, "Oh, boys will be boys." I replaced the frame. I didn't say anything. But I started keeping a mental ledger. By day 14, the day she was supposed to leave, I brought it up. Carefully. We were in the kitchen. Michael was still at work. Brandon and Tyler were in the backyard. Jennifer was making herself a smoothie with my frozen strawberries and the protein powder I bought for $12 a bag. "So," I said, keeping my voice light, "have you heard back from any of those places you applied?" Jennifer didn't look up from the blender. "Which places?" "The jobs. You mentioned you applied to 3 places the first week." "Oh, yeah, no. One of them never responded. The other 2 were sketchy. Like, one wanted me to work weekends, and I can't do that because of Tyler." "What about the apartments?" She pressed the button on the blender. The noise filled the kitchen for 10 solid seconds. When it stopped, she poured the smoothie into the biggest glass we owned and said, "The rental market is insane right now, Ash. Everything wants first month, last month, and a deposit. That's like $3,000. I don't have $3,000. "I understand that, but I'm working on it. I just need a little more time." "How much more time?" She finally looked at me. Her expression was somewhere between hurt and annoyed, like I'd insulted her by asking. "I don't know, Ashley. I'm sorry my life isn't on a spreadsheet like yours." That one landed. She meant it to. I took a breath, counted to 5. "I'm not trying to pressure you, Jen. I just want to know the plan." "The plan is, I'm figuring it out. Can you give me that? Can you give me a little grace?" She took her smoothie and walked out of the kitchen. I heard the guest room door close. That night, I told Michael we needed to talk. Brandon was in bed. Jennifer and Tyler were in their room. We sat at the kitchen table, my war room, and I pulled up our bank account on my laptop. "Look at this," I said. I'd been tracking every extra expense since Jennifer moved in. Groceries had gone up by about 60%. Our water bill was higher. Electric was higher. I'd bought Tyler a pack of socks because he only had 2 pairs. I'd bought Jennifer shampoo because she forgot to get her own. I'd paid for a pizza delivery she ordered on my DoorDash account without asking. 14 days, I said. We're already out about $1,100 in extra costs, and she hasn't mentioned leaving. Michael rubbed his face with both hands. "She's trying, Ash." "Is she?" "Because she slept until noon today. She hasn't applied for a single job this week. She hasn't looked at a single apartment." "You don't know that." "I do know that. I asked her. She told me the rental market is insane, and the jobs were sketchy." Those were her words. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "She's my sister." I know she's your sister. I love that you care about her. But we agreed on 2 weeks, and the 2 weeks are up, and she doesn't even have a plan. So what do you want me to do? Throw her out on the street with a 7-year-old? I want you to set a deadline, a real one, with a date on a calendar. He looked at me like I'd asked him to choose between me and Jennifer. And honestly, maybe I had. I'll talk to her, he said finally. I'll figure something out. He didn't talk to her. Not that night, not the next day, not the day after that. And the days kept piling up. Day 18. Jennifer ate the last of the deli turkey I'd bought for Brandon's school lunches. She didn't replace it. She didn't mention it. I found the empty package in the trash and stood there holding it, staring at it like it was evidence in a crime scene. Because, in a way, it was. It was proof that Jennifer didn't see our food as ours. She saw it as hers. Day 22. I came home and found that Jennifer had rearranged the living room furniture. She'd moved the couch to the other wall and put the armchair by the window. It gets better light this way, she said, like she was doing me a favor. I didn't say anything. I moved it all back after she went to bed. Michael watched me do it and didn't say a word. Day 25. This is the day I found the Amazon package. I was bringing in the mail when I saw a brown box on the porch addressed to Jennifer, at my address. I brought it inside and set it on the kitchen counter. When Jennifer came out of her room, she grabbed it, opened it right there, and pulled out a pair of Nike sneakers, white and pink, brand new. Cute, right? She said, holding them up. They were on sale, only $89. $89. This woman who couldn't afford a security deposit, who hadn't contributed a single dollar to groceries, who was sleeping in my office on sheets I washed and eating food I bought, this woman had $89 for sneakers. I felt something shift inside me. Something that had been bending finally cracked. Jennifer, I said, and my voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. You bought shoes. Yeah, they were on sale. You bought $89 shoes while living in my house for free. Her face changed. The casual smile disappeared. It's not like I spent your money, Ashley. No, you spent money that could have gone toward a deposit on your own apartment, or groceries, or the socks I bought Tyler last week. Excuse me? You heard me. She set the shoes down on the counter. You know what? I knew this would happen. I told Michael you'd start keeping score. Someone has to, Jennifer, because you're certainly not. Wow, she shook her head slowly. You know, I always knew you looked down on me, always with your little spreadsheets and your savings accounts and your perfectly organized pantry. Must be nice to have it all figured out, Ashley. It is nice, I said, because I worked for it. She stared at me. I stared back. The kitchen was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. Then she said, I'm going to tell Michael about this. Good. Tell him. Tell him about the shoes, too. She grabbed the box and went to her room. The door didn't just close, it slammed, hard enough to rattle the family photo on the hallway wall. That evening, Michael came home and went straight to the guest room. He was in there for 20 minutes. When he came out, he found me in the kitchen making Brandon's lunch for the next day. Did you really call her out about a pair of shoes? He asked. Yes. Ash, come on. It was $89. It was $89 she doesn't have, Michael. $89 that proves she's not actually trying to leave. That's a reach. Is it? Because today is day 25. She was supposed to stay for 14. She has no job, she has no apartment prospects, she has no savings, and she's shopping on Amazon from our address, which she's now using as her permanent mailing address, by the way. Did you notice that? He hadn't noticed. I could see it on his face. I just need you to back me up, I said. Just once. I need you to be my husband before you're her brother. He opened his mouth, closed it. Then, I'll set a deadline. End of the month. That's another 12 days. If she doesn't have something lined up by then, I'll help her find a place. Co-sign if I have to. Co-sign a lease? Michael, no. Her credit is, it's my sister Ashley. There it was again, that phrase, like a trump card he could play to end any argument. I put down the butter knife I was using to spread peanut butter on Brandon's sandwich. "End of the month," I said. "Not a day more." He agreed. He shook my hand on it like a business deal. We even laughed a little, and for one brief, stupid moment, I thought maybe this was the turning point. Maybe he'd actually follow through. Maybe Jennifer would get the message. But then the end of the month came, day 31, and nothing happened. Jennifer was still in the guest room. Tyler was still sharing the bathroom with Brandon. The suitcases were still in the hallway. And Michael, my husband, my partner, the man who shook my hand, looked at me over dinner and said, "She just needs a few more days. She has a lead on a job at Target." A lead on a job at Target. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I picked up my plate, took it to the sink, and washed it in silence, while my husband sat at the table telling me about Jennifer's lead. That night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in the basement at my bookkeeping desk, the desk I'd been exiled to so Jennifer could have my office, and I did the math. Every grocery receipt, every utility bill compared to the same month last year. The socks, the shampoo, the DoorDash order, the extra laundry detergent, the increased water and electric. $3,214 in 31 days. And climbing. I wrote the number on a napkin. Then I folded it and put it in my wallet, right behind my driver's license, where I'd see it every single day. 9 more days passed. Jennifer didn't get the Target job. She didn't get any job. She started leaving dishes in the sink overnight. She used my good towels to clean up a spill and didn't wash them. Tyler drew on the wall in the hallway with a marker, and when I pointed it out, Jennifer said, "He's a kid, Ashley. Kids draw on walls." No, my kid doesn't draw on walls because I taught him not to. Day 40, a Tuesday evening. I was making dinner, chicken and rice, nothing fancy, when Jennifer walked into the kitchen with Tyler beside her. She had that look on her face, the one I'd come to recognize. Eyes slightly wide, voice slightly higher, the opening notes of a performance. "Hey, Ash," she said. "So, I was thinking." I kept stirring the rice. "About what?" "Well, Tyler's really settled in at his new school here, and Brandon and him are getting along so great, and I've been looking at jobs in this area, and I just thought, maybe it makes sense for us to stay a little longer, just until I'm really, truly stable." I put the spoon down. My hand was steady. My voice was not. "How much longer, Jennifer?" "I don't know, maybe another month or two?" Another month or two. On top of 40 days. That was potentially 4 months total, living in my house. Eating my food, using my electricity and water, contributing nothing. I turned around to face her, and that's when I saw Michael standing in the doorway behind her. He was already nodding. He'd already agreed to this before she even came to ask me. They'd discussed it in the guest room, behind my back, and they'd decided together that I would just go along with it. That was the betrayal. Not the money, not the mess, not the shoes. It was my husband conspiring with his sister in my own house to extend an arrangement I never fully agreed to in the first place, without even asking me first. My mouth opened, but before I could say a single word, Brandon walked into the kitchen. He'd been playing in the living room. He must have heard Jennifer talking because he looked up at his father, at his aunt, at me, and he said 7 words in his clear little 5-year-old voice. 7 words that stopped every person in that kitchen dead in their tracks. "Mommy, why does Daddy's family live here, but Daddy never pays for my stuff anymore?" 7 words. Well, okay, more than 7 if you count the contractions as separate words. But that's what came out of my 5-year-old's mouth in that kitchen, in that moment, with Jennifer's request still hanging in the air like smoke. Brandon wasn't being dramatic. He wasn't trying to make a point. He was 5. He was asking a genuine question because last week I'd told him we couldn't get the new Hot Wheels set at Target, the one he'd been asking about for a month, because we need to be careful with money right now. And he'd accepted that. He hadn't thrown a tantrum. He'd just nodded and said, "Okay, Mommy." But now he was standing in the kitchen watching his aunt ask to stay longer, watching his father nod along, and his little brain had done the math that my husband refused to do. The silence after Brandon spoke lasted maybe 4 seconds. It felt like 40. Jennifer looked at Michael. Michael looked at the floor. I looked at my son, and I felt something break open inside my chest. Not anger, not sadness, but something worse. Shame. Shame that my child had noticed. Shame that he'd absorbed the stress I thought I'd been hiding. Shame that a 5-year-old had to say out loud what I'd been choking on for 40 days. "Buddy," Michael said, crouching down, it's not like that. Aunt Jen just needs help right now." Brandon looked at him with those serious brown eyes. "But you said we can't go to the water park because of money, and Aunt Jen got new shoes." Jennifer's face went red. She grabbed Tyler's hand and muttered, "Come on, baby," and disappeared down the hallway. The guest room door closed. Not a slam this time, a quiet click, which was somehow worse. Michael stood up slowly. He looked at me like I'd coached Brandon to say those things, like I'd planted a bomb and used our son as the detonator. "Did you tell him that?" he asked. His voice was low, dangerous. "Tell him what? The truth? That we've spent over $3,000 on your sister in 40 days? No, Michael, I didn't sit our kindergartner down with a spreadsheet. He has eyes. He has ears. Children aren't stupid." "This is great, Ashley, really great. Now my son thinks I don't care about him because I'm helping my sister." "Your son thinks that because it's what he's experiencing. When's the last time you took him anywhere? When's the last time you bought him anything? You told him no to a $12 toy car last Saturday, and then on Sunday, your sister ordered $43 of Thai food on my DoorDash account." Michael's jaw tightened. He grabbed his jacket off the kitchen chair. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Out. I need air." "Michael." The front door closed. His truck started. Headlights swept across the kitchen window, and then he was gone. I stood there for a long time. The chicken was burning. I turned off the burner. I wasn't hungry anymore. Brandon tugged my sleeve. "Is Daddy mad at me?" I picked him up, all 42 pounds of him, and held him against my chest. "No, baby, Daddy's not mad at you. You didn't do anything wrong." "Then why did he leave?" I didn't have an answer. I just held him tighter and pressed my face into his hair, which smelled like the Johnson's shampoo I'd been buying since he was a newborn, and I cried. Quietly, so he wouldn't hear. But he felt it. Kids always feel it. That night, after I put Brandon to bed, I sat alone in the dark living room. Michael hadn't come home. It was past 10. I texted him once, "Are you okay?" and got back a thumbs up emoji. That was it. A thumbs up after everything. I could hear Jennifer's TV through the guest room wall. She was watching something with a laugh track. Sitcom laughs rolling through my house at 10:30 at night while my marriage cracked down the middle. I pulled out my phone and did something I'd never done before. I Googled divorce attorney, Blaine, Minnesota. I didn't click on anything. I just looked at the results, scrolled through the names, read a few reviews, saw the words free consultation, and felt my stomach drop like I was on a roller coaster. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. But the fact that I'd searched it, that I'd even typed those words, scared me more than anything Jennifer had done. Michael came home after midnight. I was still on the couch, pretending to read a book. He sat down next to me, smelling like beer and cold air. "I went to Dave's," he said. Dave was his buddy from work. We talked. About what? About everything. About Jen. About us. I waited. "He thinks I'm being an idiot," Michael said quietly. "Dave's a smart guy." Michael almost smiled. Almost. "Ash, I know this has been hard. I know it's been more than we agreed on. But she's my sister, and if I kick her out, she's got nowhere. Mom's place is too small. She can't afford a deposit. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to be my partner. You're supposed to care about our family, this family, the one in this house, as much as you care about her. I do. Then act like it, because right now our son is asking why his father doesn't spend money on him anymore. That's where we are, Michael. That's the reality. He leaned back against the couch and closed his eyes. 2 more weeks, he said. I'll tell her 2 more weeks. And this time, I mean it. I'll help her find a place. I'll drive her to apartments. I'll cover the deposit myself if I have to. With what money? We've already spent $3,000. I'll figure it out. Those words again. Everyone in this family was going to figure it out. Nobody ever did. But I was too tired to fight, too tired to argue. I nodded, and we went to bed, and he fell asleep in 4 minutes flat, while I lay there staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the drywall. The next morning, everything changed. Not because of Michael, not because of Jennifer, because of my mother. My mom, Karen, lives in Roseville, 20 minutes south of us. She's 63, retired from teaching, sharp as a tack, and she does not suffer fools. She's the kind of woman who raised 3 kids on a teacher's salary after my dad died when I was 12, and she did it without ever once asking anyone for a handout. She came over that Wednesday morning to drop off a birthday present for Brandon. His party was that weekend. I opened the door and she took one look at me and said, "You look terrible." "Thanks, Mom." "I mean it. When's the last time you slept?" "Define slept." She came inside. She saw Jennifer's jacket on the hook by the door, Tyler's shoes in the entryway, a cereal bowl in the sink that wasn't ours. She walked through the house like an inspector, taking inventory with those sharp teacher eyes. And when she got to the kitchen, she turned to me and said, "She's still here." "Yes." "It's been over 40 days, Ashley." "I know." "And Michael?" "He keeps saying, 2 more weeks." My mother set her purse on the counter. She pulled out a kitchen chair and sat down. "Sit," she said. I sat. "I'm going to say something, and you're not going to like it," she said. "But I didn't raise a doormat, and I'll be damned if I watch you become one." My eyes burned. I blinked fast. "You have let this woman take over your home. You have let your husband put his sister's comfort above your family's stability. And you have been so focused on being nice, on being fair, on being the bigger person, that you've forgotten something important." "What?" "This is your house, too. Your name is on that mortgage. Your money pays those bills. You are not a guest here, Ashley. You are an owner. Act like one." I stared at her. My mother's hands were folded on the table. Her nails were short and clean. Teacher's hands, practical hands. The same hands that braided my hair every morning for 6 years. The same hands that held mine at my father's funeral. "What am I supposed to do, Mom? Throw her out? Michael would never forgive me." "Then Michael has a decision to make. But so do you. And your decision is this. Are you going to keep subsidizing a grown woman's refusal to take responsibility for her own life, or are you going to protect what you built?" She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card, slid it across the table. I looked down. Patricia Holden, Esquire, Family Law, Mediation, Asset Protection, Roseville, Minnesota. "This isn't a divorce attorney," my mother said, reading my face. "Pat's a friend of mine from book club. She does family mediation, boundary agreements. She can help you put something in writing, expectations, timelines, financial contributions, something legal. Something Michael can't just wave away with, "She's my sister." I picked up the card. It was cream-colored, heavy stock, the kind of card that meant business. "You don't have to file for divorce," Mom said, "but you do have to file for yourself. You understand me?" I understood. That afternoon, I called Patricia Holden. Her receptionist put me through in 3 minutes. Patricia had a voice like warm gravel, calm, direct, no nonsense. "Your mother told me a little about the situation," she said. "Tell me the rest." I told her everything. The 2-week agreement, the 40 days, the money, the shoes, the Amazon packages, Michael's broken promises, Brandon's question in the kitchen. Patricia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Ashley, here's what I want you to do. First, I want you to open a separate bank account, tomorrow, just in your name. Move your bookkeeping income there, not to hide it, to protect it." Is that legal? You're not divorcing anyone. You're creating financial clarity. Second thing, I want you to draft a house guest agreement. I'll email you a template tonight. It covers duration of stay, financial contributions, house rules, and a specific move-out date with consequences. You and Michael both sign it. Jennifer signs it. Everyone knows the terms. Michael won't sign that. Then Michael is telling you something important about where his priorities are, and you'll have that information. I wrote down everything she said. My hand was shaking, but not from fear, from something else, something I hadn't felt in weeks. Purpose. That evening, I sat at my desk in the basement, my exiled desk, my war room in the bunker, and I opened my laptop. I started drafting the agreement from Patricia's template. Move-out date, 21 days from signing. Weekly contribution to groceries, $100. Shared chores on a rotating schedule. No Amazon deliveries to our address. No rearranging furniture. No using household items without permission. I typed every clause with the precision of a woman who'd been pushed to her limit and had finally found the edge. Not to fall off, but to push back from. I printed 2 copies, put them in a folder, set the folder on the kitchen table. Then I texted Michael. "We need to talk tomorrow night, both of us and Jennifer. It's not optional." He replied 20 minutes later. "About what?" I typed back. "About what happens next. I have a plan, and this time, it's mine." I put the phone down, picked up the napkin from my wallet, the one with $3,214 written on it. I looked at that number for a long time. Then I flipped it over and wrote something new on the back. 2 words. No more. I tucked it away and went upstairs. Brandon was already asleep, one arm around his stuffed dinosaur, his mouth slightly open, his breath soft and steady. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "Mommy's going to fix this." In the hallway, I could hear Jennifer's TV, that laugh track again. Fake laughter filling my house like a gas leak, invisible, suffocating, and one spark away from an explosion. Tomorrow night was going to be that spark. Thursday came. I spent the whole day at work cleaning teeth and thinking about war. Not the metaphorical kind, the real, strategic, this is my hill and I will die on it kind. I had the folder with 2 copies of the house guest agreement in my bag. I had Patricia Holden's number saved in my phone. I had my mother's voice in my head saying, "I didn't raise a doormat." And I had a new bank account at a credit union in Roseville, with my bookkeeping income rerouted into it as of that morning. $3,400 sitting in an account with only my name on it. Not hidden, just protected. I picked Brandon up from kindergarten at 3:15. He was wearing a macaroni necklace he'd made in art class and talking about how his friend Liam could burp the alphabet. Normal kid stuff. Beautiful, mundane, precious kid stuff. "Buddy," I said in the car, "tonight Mommy's going to have a grown-up talk with Daddy and Aunt Jen. You're going to hang out in your room and watch a movie on the iPad, okay?" "Can I watch 2 movies?" "Sure." "Is it a bad talk?" I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. 5 years old and already reading the weather in our house like a forecaster. "It's an important talk," I said, "but it's going to make things better. I promise." He nodded, satisfied. "Okay, Mommy." At 6 o'clock, dinner was done. Baked chicken, green beans, rice. Everyone ate. The conversation was thin and careful, like walking on a frozen pond. Jennifer complimented the chicken. Michael asked Brandon about school. Tyler ate in silence, watching everyone the way quiet kids do. At 7, I put both boys in Brandon's room with the iPad, a bowl of popcorn, and the promise of 2 full movies. I closed the door and walked to the kitchen. Michael was already at the table. Jennifer was leaning against the counter with her arms crossed, looking at the folder I'd set in the center of the table like it was a rattlesnake. "What's that?" she asked. "Sit down, Jennifer." She looked at Michael. He gave a tiny nod. She sat. I opened the folder and slid 1 copy to each of them. This is a house guest agreement. It covers the terms of your continued stay in this house. Duration, financial contribution, house rules, and a firm move-out date. Jennifer picked it up and started reading. Her eyebrows climbed higher with every line. Michael read his copy in silence, his jaw working like he was chewing something tough. "Weekly grocery contribution of $100, Jennifer said. "Ashley, I don't have—" "You had $89 for Nike sneakers. You have money, Jennifer. You choose how to spend it." "That was a gift to myself. You've been having a hard time for 40 days in my house. This document gives you 21 more. 3 weeks. That's generous. During those 3 weeks, you contribute $100 a week to groceries, you clean up after yourself and Tyler, and you do not order anything to this address." "This is ridiculous. Michael, are you hearing this?" Michael set the paper down. He looked at me. I could see the war in his eyes. The 11-year-old boy who packed lunches, fighting against the 33-year-old man who'd watched his son ask why Daddy didn't pay for his stuff anymore. "Ash," he said slowly, "some of this is a little what? Specific? Clear? Everything our verbal agreements haven't been?" "Harsh. Harsh is spending $3,200 on someone who bought herself shoes and rearranged my furniture and let her son draw on my walls. Harsh is my child asking why his father doesn't spend money on him. That's harsh, Michael." Jennifer stood up. "I'm not signing this. This is insane. You're treating me like a tenant." "You are a tenant, Jennifer, an unpaying one, for 40 days. I'm family." "Family doesn't take advantage of family for 40 days without contributing a single dollar. Family doesn't go behind my back and ask my husband if she can stay for 2 more months without even looking me in the eye. Family doesn't use my DoorDash account and eat my son's lunch food and sleep until noon while I work 2 jobs to cover the bills you're running up." My voice hadn't risen, not once. I was speaking at the same volume I used to explain flossing techniques to patients. Calm, measured, factual. And it was destroying her, because she couldn't call me hysterical. She couldn't call me emotional. I was just stating the truth, line by line, like a balance sheet. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Michael. "Are you going to let her talk to me like this?" Michael put his hands flat on the table. He stared at the agreement for a long time. Then he said something I didn't expect. "She's right, Jen." Jennifer's mouth dropped open. "She's right," he repeated. "I've been telling you 2 more weeks for a month. I've been promising Ashley things I haven't delivered. And our kid, our 5-year-old, is the one who finally said what I should have said weeks ago." He pushed the agreement toward her. "Sign it. Follow the rules. Find a place in 21 days. I'll help you. I'll drive you to every apartment showing. I'll cover your deposit, but from my personal savings, not our joint account. That's the deal." Jennifer looked at him like he'd slapped her. "You're choosing her over me. I'm choosing my family. You're part of my family too, Jen, but you can't keep drowning in my swimming pool and calling it help." The room went quiet. The refrigerator hummed. Down the hall, I could hear the faint sound of a cartoon playing on the iPad. Jennifer wiped her eyes. She sat back down. She picked up the pen I'd placed next to the agreement. "This is humiliating," she whispered. "No," I said. "This is clarity." She signed it. Michael signed it. I signed both copies, kept one, and gave one to Jennifer. That night, after Jennifer retreated to the guest room and Michael and I were alone in our bedroom, he sat on the edge of the bed and said, "I'm sorry, Ash. I should have done that weeks ago." "Yes, you should have." "Are we okay?" I sat next to him. Our shoulders touched. "We will be, but I need you to understand something. I opened a separate bank account today. My bookkeeping income goes there now. It's not about secrets. It's about me never being in a position where I can't protect our son because someone else is spending our money." He flinched, but he nodded. "That's fair. And if she's not out in 21 days, I'm calling Patricia Holden and we're doing a formal eviction, not a conversation, a legal process." It won't come to that. It better not. It didn't. Not because Jennifer suddenly transformed. People don't change in 3 weeks. But because the agreement changed the rules of the game. She couldn't pretend this was casual anymore. She couldn't act like a permanent guest in a hotel with no checkout date. Day 3 after signing, Jennifer got a job. Not at Target, at a dental supply warehouse in Brooklyn Park, packing orders. $14 an hour, full-time. She told me about it at dinner with a look on her face that was half pride, half resentment. I said, "That's great, Jen. Congratulations." And I meant it. Day 7. She paid me $100 in cash, set it on the kitchen counter in an envelope with "groceries" written on it. I put it in the household fund without comment. Day 12. Michael drove her to see 3 apartments. She applied for a 1-bedroom in Columbia Heights for $950 a month, the same listing she'd shown me 6 weeks earlier and never followed up on. Day 17. She got approved. Michael covered the security deposit, $950 from his personal savings. He showed me the receipt. I said nothing, because a deal was a deal. Day 20. Jennifer packed her bags, all 4 suitcases, the 3 garbage bags of clothes, Tyler's toys. She stood in the hallway, the same hallway where her luggage had sat for nearly 2 months, and she looked at me. "I know you think I'm a mess," she said. "I think you're capable of more than you give yourself credit for." She blinked. Whatever she'd expected me to say, it wasn't that. "Thank you for letting us stay," she said quietly. "I know it wasn't easy." "It wasn't, but you're Tyler's mom, and Tyler deserves stability. Go build it." She hugged me. It was stiff and brief, but it was real. Then she loaded her car, buckled Tyler in, and drove away. Michael stood on the porch and watched until her taillights disappeared. When he came back inside, his eyes were red. "She's going to be okay," I said. "I know. I spent my whole life making sure she was okay. It's hard to stop." "You're not stopping. You're stepping back. There's a difference." He pulled me into a hug and held on for a long time. Brandon appeared in the hallway in his pajamas and said, "Are Aunt Jen and Tyler gone?" "Yeah, buddy. They got their own place." "Good," he said. Then, "Can I have my Hot Wheels now?" Michael laughed. A real laugh. The first one I'd heard from him in weeks. "Yeah, bud. This weekend. I promise." That Saturday, Michael took Brandon to Target and let him pick out not 1, but 3 Hot Wheels sets, $12 each, $36 total. Brandon came home buzzing like a power line, cars spilling out of the bag, already planning a racetrack on the living room floor. I watched them from the kitchen, my house, my family, and I felt something I hadn't felt in almost 2 months. Peace. Not the fragile kind, the earned kind. The kind that comes after you draw a line and hold it. Jennifer's been in her apartment for 3 weeks now. She's still working at the warehouse. Tyler's adjusting to a new school. She and I aren't close. I don't think we ever will be, but we're civil. She texted me last Sunday to ask for my chicken and rice recipe. I sent it. She sent back a thumbs up emoji, and for once, that felt like enough. Michael and I started seeing a couples counselor. His idea, actually. We go every other Tuesday. We're working on boundaries. His word, not just mine anymore. He told the counselor about the lunches he packed for Jennifer when he was 11, and for the first time, I saw him cry about it. Not because he regretted caring for his sister, because he realized he'd never stop being that boy, even when it meant neglecting the family he'd built as a man. Our emergency fund is rebuilding, slowly. I moved my desk back upstairs into the guest room, my office again. The napkin with $3,214 on it is still in my wallet. I keep it there not out of bitterness, but as a reminder, this is what it costs when you don't say no. Brandon asked me last night at bedtime, "Mommy, is our house just for us again?" "Yes, baby, just for us." He smiled and rolled over, hugging his stuffed dinosaur, and was asleep in 2 minutes. I stood in his doorway and thought about the night he'd walked into that kitchen and said the words that cracked everything open. He hadn't meant to be brave. He was just being honest. And sometimes honesty from the smallest person in the room is the only thing loud enough to wake everyone else up. Here's what I learned. Generosity without boundaries isn't generosity. It's self-destruction. And the people who love you should never ask you to destroy yourself to prove it. This is your house too. Your name is on the papers. Your sweat is in the walls. Don't let anyone, not a sister-in-law, not a spouse, not guilt dressed up as loyalty, make you a stranger in your own home.